welcome. Welcome to dissolving pain in nature's flow. And today the theme and the practice will be the blahs. The blahs. And sometimes the blahs can be a little more, say, interesting to work with than a pain that is more clearly localized in some place in your body. And that includes physical or emotional pains that have a locus. Sometimes in the human experience, we can have the blahs that just feel blahs all over. And some examples that come to mind, especially from my own experience of over 10 years of significant chronic fatigue, is when your systems are just not working very well, or when your systems are actually engaged in some kind of a healing process, but in the meantime, like a detoxification or even a Herxheimer reaction as you, have some die-off from some bugs. I imagine the list could be pretty endless. But one of the interesting things about the blahs, and that's the technical name, the blahs, is that it can be harder to get like a purchase of feeling your body in a way that has that sense of how it could feel spacious and feel free-flowing and feel some of those qualities of presence. Because it's just like the whole thing is just blah, it's just like there can even be reluctance to wanting to, in a way, come into your body and almost want to just like zone out of one's body entirely. And then the sense of relating to it, it's easier when it's kind of spatially there, some kind of, it's just a different beast. The blahs are a different beast. And that they're an interesting one to learn from and to be really gentle with. And because in my own experience, I feel the blahs warrant this really gentle approach, we'll even slightly modify the initial 30 minutes of the foundations of where we, the default is that we feel the qualities of presence, the qualities of nature's flow as immediately and tangibly, directly as we can in our physical experience in our body for the first 30 minutes. Feeling the contactfulness and connection of mutual flow, including the support of the ground holding our body. Feeling the practically infinite free flow of ever finer flows within flows that we tend to feel more in our nose area with the free flow of the breath flowing in and out. And then feeling both that mutual flow and the free flow as arising together in our body, especially in our fingers, giving rise to the integrity of one whole space with these fine, free, mutual flows all arising wholly together within it. And like, oh, that sounds all great, but like I have the blahs, and I just don't want to necessarily feel my body. And so we'll actually just see what it's like to approach it from feeling other sensations and other perceptions around our body. And then from that place of our body feeling held in that more free flow of nature, comfort flow of nature, including the body as well, and gradually including the blahs and the sensations of the blahs as well too. So that everything gets included and we can continue to apply the sense of an open and immersive perception of our experience. We also go really gentle with ourselves. So let's see how this is today. And full disclosure, I have the blahs. This is in real time. What I use, what I feel. In the midst of working on my health, sometimes there's some dips, and this is live, practicing here with you. Let's begin. Fittingly, I'll be lying down for this. Welcome to set up your space, your position, any way you want. That always goes. And it can be nice to have a bolster underneath the knees. Even if you're lying in bed, it can just give a little bit more ease to the restfulness of the entire body. And let's just let this blah-filled body be. And begin by noticing the sounds. Beginning by noticing the soundscapes. Background noise of a fan. Sounds of nature from outside a window. However, my voice might be coming into your space. Then if you're using any kind of headphones and you have the option, may like to let it be a little more like a stereo sound. So that you feel the sense that these sounds are coming from places in the room you're in, and even beyond the room. Letting yourself become spatially aware of those sounds as they waft on the air to you. Seeing what it's like to open your perception to the sounds. Or maybe there's a background sound, and maybe there's more of a foreground sound, like the sound of my voice. And letting both be there. Maybe even playing with letting the foreground sound of my voice recede into the background and bringing forth that sense of the background sound so that it's more in your perception. And then what would it be like to not give any preferential treatment to any sound in your experience as they effortlessly and simultaneously arise? There's no little effort to bring one forward or push one back. They can all just be equally there in our experience. As they're effortlessly there in our experience, without any extra effort on our part. Just the openness. And noticing how even with our eyes closed, we have such a sensibility of the space that we're in. Partly through sound, partly through our spatial awareness. And just letting ourselves feel the space from the ceiling to our front body. If it's like, well, I don't know if I feel the space, just imagine the space. What's the distance between the ceiling and the front of the body? And letting yourself rest in that sense of the space. That if you're lying down is above you. And that includes any sounds wafting in that direction. It includes the blanket of air that's wrapping around you. And includes that spaciousness, that felt sense of the space between. Ceiling and front body. How we can feel that space. How we can be blanketed by that space. And even feel like we're bathing in the experience of that space. And extending that sense of space from the ceiling to your front body to the sides of your body and to the sides of the room that you're in. Like tucking the blankets a little more around you and the edges of your body, your shoulders, your hips, your arms and legs. And feeling the sense of the space between the sides of the wall and the sides of your body. And that might be a little interesting to feel the spaces on both sides all at once. And include the space above you. And maybe begin to feel just a little bit cozy in this space. And if you're lying down, beginning by feeling the sense of the wall above your head, and then the space between that wall and the top of your head. And then skip over to the feet and feel the sense of the space between the feet and the wall on the other side of the room. And include within your openness to all the space around you. And the space above your head, below your feet, between the sides of the room and the sides of your body, and from the ceiling to your front body. The 3D space of the room wrapping around your body in this moment, along with all the air that's in the room and all the subtle waves within that air that we experience as sound. The space, the air, the sound, all simultaneously and effortlessly there in our experience of what's around us. You may even like to listen to the silence of the room. There's the silence and space of the room. And there's the air and the vibrations of sound in the room. And for a moment here, letting the sense of sounds and fullness of air in the room just recede into the background. And feel more into the silent space. Rest into the silent space that surrounds you. And this is kind of a healthful zoning out. Just notice how we can find in the space and silence around our body and the sounds and air around our body. That fuller context that lets us be very gentle with ourselves and also lets us open to nature's flows all around us. The interesting thing is, just like we do so when we feel our fingers and the space between our fingers, feeling all around our body does bring into heightened contrast our body itself. without trying to feel into the body in any way. Knowing the edges of our body in 3D space, held, wrapped, part of the space of the room. And from this kind of outer nature retreat, we may find that we're a little more inclined to actually feel how there is still the comfort of these qualities of presence within our body. Even a body full of the blahs. And so from here, letting ourselves feel how part of the space around our body is the space between our thumb and pointer finger on both hands. There's the space of the whole room. And there's this space between our thumb and pointer finger. And maybe making that space a little bit smaller or a little bit wider to confirm that you really are feeling that space in this moment. How else would you know wider or smaller? And then letting yourself just feel into that space between the thumb and the pointer finger on both hands. In between those fingertips. But where the fingertips are in the background and the space between is in the foreground of our awareness. And what would it be like to let yourself listen? As if you could listen to that space. Perhaps noticing there's less tendency of that, getting out the flashlight and trying to look down at your fingers. More of a sense of the sensations that let you know there's that space between, are just wafting within the space of the room, creating this feeling scape that lets us know That's the distance, that's the space between my two fingers on both hands. And what would it be like now to feel the space between the pointer finger and the middle finger just as effortlessly and fully, and listening fully as you're feeling the space between your thumb and pointer finger. Making now those three spaces on both hands a little bit wider, a little bit smaller. And really soaking in the feeling of the space between. And now feeling the space in between the middle finger and the fourth finger, just as sensitively, effortfully, pardon me, effortlessly, listening fully as we felt the spaces between the other fingers. Another addition to space. Felt between two fingers. Now what about the pinky finger and the space between it and the fourth finger? Noticing how that space between the fingers is different. Each of the spaces between the fingers are different shapes, different distances. And feeling into the uniqueness of that space between pinky and fourth finger. Letting ourselves rest inside that space. Rest in the absence of fingers. And now including the spaces between all the fingers all at once, perhaps making it a little bit wider, slightly spreading all those spaces And then letting all those spaces be a little narrower. And all the while, we're just soaking up the space and the felt sense of space. It's pretty interesting because we tend to think that we feel only our body. Well, yes, we feel on the inside our body, and we also feel as part of this whole feeling scape, the space around our body, including all these spaces in between and around our fingers. And maybe now including, in the sense, not just the spaces in between all the fingers, but the space beyond each fingertip. And how that space beyond each fingertip is the space of this whole room. To the ceiling, above, to our head, below our feet, to the wall, and from the sides of the room to the sides of our body. And now even more exquisitely feeling that space wrapping around all of our fingers. Perhaps letting ourselves feel our hands holding space and silence. And even air and sound, just like the whole room is full of space and silence, and air and sound. And beginning to, perhaps if you feel ready, to slightly spread the palms of the hands and feel the center of the hands open. And letting a sense of almost like we're breathing through, in and out, the center, the heart of both hands. And then ever so slightly see what it would be like to spread the toes and feel the foot a little more akin to how we're feeling our hands in this moment. And how there's also a center to our foot, analogous to our hands, a little bit below the ball of the foot, right in the middle. And then what would it be like to feel as though one is breathing in and out through the sole of the foot, the heart of both feet. And now what would it be like to include a sense of breathing in and out through the soles of the feet and through the palms of the hands, the heart of hands and feet, breathing the breath for us, all together. Perhaps now including a little more of the releasing sense of the out breath. A sense of letting go. As the air leaves our body, we settle. Perhaps letting some tension, some bracing against the blahs in the shoulders to begin to gently release as we breathe out and let the shoulders settle a little more into the support of the ground. Being gentle with ourselves, letting it be an invitation. Would you be willing to let go and receive a little more support? And if not, that's okay. And similarly, approaching our hip area. Would you be willing to let go and just feel a little more supported? And if you still need to hold on a little bit or a lot, it's okay too. You're still supported by the ground, no matter what. And extending this invitation into the arms and legs. Would you like just to drape a little more comfortably onto the ground and receive the support that's right there to hold you up completely. It's up to you. We get to talk to ourselves like this. When our system feels the blahs, it can feel under a subtle physiological threat that it doesn't quite understand. And it can just turn into this, bracing and disassociation. And so we just ask the body, are you willing? And by starting with a sense of the space all around us, the sounds, the silence, that continues to hold our body. In every direction, at every surface, including wrapping around and amongst our fingers, even our toes. We can let the body find its own reassurance. Without expecting it to let go in any particular way. We may like to check out how it feels to feel now the free flow of air coming in through our nose, out through our nose, coming into the inner space, and then leaving our body and returning back to the outer space of that air and 3D space all around us. Sometimes the blahs can be an opportunity to have a more laid back attitude. We might not really want to concentrate. And so our habitual efforting is a little more toned down already. Forehead relaxed. As much as feels good for us. a kind of lackadaisical interest in the sensations in this passageway of our nose that connects the outer space and the inner space. That's part of this one whole space. Then beginning with the chest area on the out breath, just feeling a bit of a cascading downward. Cascading downward and a gentle scan of the torso, the front body as we breathe out. And doing that a couple of times if it feels soothing. And then we're going to continue to have a sense of a downward scan and just slow it way, way, way down. In fact, we're going to go all the way to the wall opposite the top of our head. And from that wall, very gradually beginning to scan downward, feeling the space between that wall and the top of our head. No rush. And then we're at the top of our head. And we begin to scan slowly down the body, down the head, and down the neck to the shoulder. Down the arms and torso all at once. Down the legs, all the way to the soles of the feet. And then beyond the soles of the feet, all the way, gradually, slowly, to the wall opposite our feet. And then rest, not trying to manage our experience in any way. And find yourself at the wall above your head again. And let yourself float through the space. Taking our time until we reach the top of our head. And you, as that observer, witnesser, identity, experiencer, float down the body. Going at a leisurely, unhurried, unrushed pace of just floating downward. And continuing to float past the soles of the feet until you're at the other end of the room. And whenever you reach the other wall, just rest. No managing where you are, what you're feeling, how you're feeling it. No trying to manipulate our experience in any which way. And then one more time, finding ourselves the wall above our head. And this time with a sense of the space to the sides, maybe even the space to the ceiling, the whole 3D space. Beginning to float down. That includes the space to the sides, includes maybe even the space to the ceiling. As we float down, and as we gradually float through our body, and the space to the sides and above, all at once. Including the space beyond the soles of the feet to the wall, floating through that space, including the space to the sides and above, all at once. And then opening to all 3D space around us, blanketing us, all the space inside of us. Feeling this one whole space. And perhaps feeling one with all the sensations arising within that bit of space in this room, blanketed by air, surrounded by sound and silence. Let all the sensations within that space are part of this oneness of experience. Just one whole experience. And what's this merged and embodied and spacious and whole experience of the blahs like? And what's it like perhaps to realize that the more we're gentle and the more we start right where we are, what is always so has more of a chance to come into the foreground of our experience instead of our trying and our resisting and our efforting and our fixing. That the way of shifting our perspective by feeling nature's flows and their qualities. And for sure, the blahs are still a flow of nature. Just give them a chance to reveal themselves for the flow of nature that they are. And then our experience, our perception of them can shift without anything else changing. And perhaps with a little more sense of kindness, a fundamental, unconditional kind of kindness to ourselves. And this completes an hour of presence for dissolving the blahs in nature's flow. And we'll allow a little bit of time just to rest, just to be, just to coast, to not practice anything in particular. And welcome to stay. Stay as you are, perhaps even stay napping, or can gently move fingers and toes, hands and feet, arms and legs. And a special thank you for adventuring together with me, together with us here today. I found it I knew as I was embarking on this series of dissolving pain in nature's flow that it was something that was really meaningful for me to share, and that I really had a desire for people to know that there are these options. And one of the unexpected gifts along the way is that uh, I've been able to use various kinds of pains that have come up in my own life in the last couple of weeks and viewed them more as some opportunities for practice, for applying this, and for sharing some things that I do hope are helpful. Because some of the nuances of the kinds of discomfort that the human body and mind can find itself in can call forth a variety of approaches. So, for example, really trying to, well, overall, we don't, we're not so big on trying, trying here or trying to, concentrate or, but I hope that today's session offered a sense of how each of us can also further modify the practice at any given time under any variety of circumstances so that we meet ourselves with that gentleness and actually allow the practice to really serve us. And in a way, allow these qualities of nature to serve us because they are always there. And we're just using a variety of access points and techniques to give them more of a chance to reveal themselves. So if you have any observations about the practice today, your own experience, or any questions about the practice, yeah, just checking in. Oh, it's so good to see so many of you back. I hope you're not in pain though, but I know it's such a good practice to do, to lay the foundation so that can apply. Okay. Well, by the way, hi JB and hello Rachel and Sam. What is the blahs? It's a very technical term. Yeah, so I'm gonna the blahs. So the blahs are sorry. the the blahs are when you feel blah. you just you just feel blah. So it's totally a technical term. Um yeah, so kaya, it can be a kind of melancholy, lack of motivation. Totally. And a lot of that I think that can come from both you know, things going on in our emotional world, our mental world, and our physical world. Um, and so there's a lot of conditions, a lot of treatments even, where it just will feel our body system will feel like, perhaps you know the feeling that you get when you have a fever. And even like the, not necessarily the temperature aspect. That's one aspect. So there's the raise in temperature, but then there's just like, ah, my system is, I mean, it's doing what it needs to do in that case, but there's just this overall nebulous feeling of the system working with something that gives the experience, um, which I technically call the bloss. um, Let me see. Oh, inner stillness. Yeah. JB, thank you. Really appreciate this. Marta, hello, Marta. Good to see you. JB, if I want to learn more about this approach, where would you recommend I start? Would it be Les Femi's Dissolving Pain books or a different book? So highly recommend. It's on the side table. I won't pull it out right now. I highly recommend Dr. Femi's Dissolving Pains books. It's excellent. There's guided meditations along with it. I have, as I talked about last time, I have integrated this with, well, first of all, I think the theme today was gentleness. And as I mentioned last time, I don't feel like the Dr. Femi fully allowed for the gentleness when working with pain. That's my opinion, my experience. I actually, for many years, got into the habit of kind of just trying to push myself more towards the pain because, it worked to a certain degree. Because the more I would allow, the more I would just merge with it and feel it, the more it would dissolve. So it works to a certain degree, but it also created a subtle strain in my system. So that's one aspect, is to bring in the gentleness. And also one of the ways, and this is why it became so meaningful to me to integrate this with Master Wan Chul Park's teachings on the 3 qualities of nature, and that you can learn about in the book Now Flow Breath Movement Mind. And so there's Now Flow Breath Movement Mind. They'll go into the 3 qualities of nature. It won't have the dissolving pain aspect as an application, but it will tell you more about those qualities. And then I do offer, you can always check out my profile. There's more things that I offer, and I just don't promote them here in respect to the Insight Timer policy, as I want to be respectful of their space. So specifically for your chronic pain, yeah. Yeah, there's so many, there's many interesting resources out there. I think I've given the most that I can right now from my experience. Marta, I was thinking blahs. I hear blood. It also works. Okay, well, I'm sorry if the blahs were were confusing. Yeah, that's my. I also teach. I teach children. I'm not saying I play with children. I play with children and families and their inner life skills, and The children just they know what the blahs are, and I don't know. They know what the blahs are. I need to update my sense of maybe we forget what the blahs are. JB is a Now Flow Breath Movement Mind book where you feel you got the gentleness. Yes, yeah, yes, and so I think one of the keys to gentleness is to realize that um, we are shifting our perspective, and also that we're not fundamentally making anything different. And so when we can approach any experience from the sense of a growing confidence, perhaps even a growing trust, that that experience, if fully experienced, will reveal these qualities of free flow, of mutual flow, of whole flow, and just, free and connected and whole. Those are very comforting, nourishing, kind of fundamentally soothing aspects of experience. Nothing is stuck, nothing is lacking, nothing is alone. And so the approach of Master Wanchil Park, where it's this, in a way, it's this Taoist approach where there's the Tao, there's the way of nature, there's the way of nature that is the way it is no matter what. And then there's our perception of it, which, of course, sometimes we perceive more of the interbeing, the free flow, the wholeness. And sometimes we're seriously stressed out and we feel really stuck and separate and alone in our pain at so many levels. And so, yes, there's like a fundamental attitude of, it's not even an attitude, it's like an understanding that evokes our gentleness, because we're not trying to change reality. We simply are, you know, helping ourselves to see it a little bit more clearly, clarify our perception a little bit more. And so there's a fundamental kind of gentleness in that. And then also in my work with as a student of the diamond approach and the way we do inquiry in the diamond approach and the way it's always about meeting ourselves just where we are. It's so interesting how often we think the shortcut is to try and first get ourselves there. Like the first step, it's like as if we think the first step needs to be someplace where we're not. So if, for example, I'm feeling the blahs, and almost every cell inside me doesn't want to feel inside my body. And this might be, a little bit of my own history of feeling like I wanted to, disembody. I wanted to disassociate because of the relentlessness of chronic pain. So, I could have been like, yeah, but the foundation practice starts by feeling the mutual flow with the ground, and you better start there and then feel your breath. But it's like, no, I don't want to feel my breath. It's even hard for me to begin to release some of the bracing because my system somehow feels under threat. And so it's like, okay, if I try and start with where I think I should start rather than where I actually am, I'm actually taking a huge detour. And so part of it's like this discipline of like, I can only take the first step right from where I am. And so I will actually make quote unquote more progress if I really let myself know what it is that I need and meet myself there. And so I hope that this session was even just an example of that, even with the foundations that, as you all probably, many of you know, I go to it. It's my go-to every single day, the 30 minutes for foundations, and then go on various adventures. And today wasn't the day for that. So then I hope that that's in a way modeling how, whatever anyone says about how you should do it or whatever routines you find most useful, to really let yourself check in and meet yourself right where you are and be creative with this repertoire that, with these hour presence of practices, you are developing this whole repertoire, and you can mix and match and do it in a whole variety of ways. So like today we did much more about sound and space around. And then we started with the extremities. Because I still didn't want to feel my breath this close in my body. But I started with feeling the breath going through the palms of my hands and the soles of my feet. And then gradually was able to feel that embodiment and the oneness of the blahs even within my body. JB, the diamond approach, yeah. The diamond approach is a beautiful practice, a beautiful spiritual tradition. You can just Google the diamond approach, and founded by Hamid. And it does a wonderful job, I would say, of integrating a sense of the being, sense of being presence with psychology, with what we know about how we block ourselves and get in our own way. And one of the fundamental practices of the diamond approach is called inquiry. And it is it's such a complement to these kinds of hour presence practices, because for some things it's really helpful to be with another person. And so like in inquiry, you might be with your diamond approach teacher, and the diamond approach teacher has no agenda. This is what I just find is such a deep blessing. The diamond approach teacher has no agenda, not trying to get you to do a certain anything, but to help you be with at this level of any experience that you have, including processing of, you know, anything. Just leave it at that. You know, can be your childhood, can be the way you felt when someone cut you off in traffic. And, you know, those aspects, they have a felt sense in the body. And to have someone else there present, holding the space for you, helping you stay feeling that, and applying, just like we do here, applying a bag of techniques like some breath work, um, like some gestalt kind of aspects, but never with an agenda of mm, you have to do this or this is what you need. Um, just the sense of how can you more come to see who you already are, the fullness of your being already. And so I have a heart full of gratitude to Dr. Femi, to Master Wanchel Park, and to the Diamond Approach. And I feel like this is having those other aspects, especially the support of a teacher or inquiry. If things come up for you, for example, here in the hour presence practice, is a great support. If you'd ever want to reach out to me, I would be more than happy to put you in contact with some really wonderful Diamond Approach teachers. Yeah. One last question. When I look for Les Femi's books, it looks like he has 3: Open Focus Brain, Dissolving Pain, and Open Focus Life. Do you recommend all 3 or just specifically the Dissolving Pain one? Totally. I actually didn't know that there was an Open Focus Life book. I learn something new every day. But I really do recommend the Open Focus Brain. It will go more into some of the, brainwave synchronicity. I'm not even sure I'm saying that right. Synchrony, and alpha waves and these kinds of things, and that's very interesting. So it was co-written by a science writer. I'm not sure, since it was written a while ago, I'm not sure how current it is, but it it gives another way of learning about um, the narrow focused attention and the more open and immersed attention. So I definitely would recommend it. And definitely would recommend his tapes, especially if you're finding feeling space between things difficult. Here, he does some, more just kind of cut and dry, feel the space between this, feel the space between that, feel you. And even that he uses the phrase, can you imagine? I think he almost always does that. Can you imagine feeling the space? Which has its benefits, has its drawbacks. One last question. Should I? I don't think it really matters the order. Um, I don't think so. If you're, and I'm not even sure. Um, if you'd like to just get in contact with me, I actually know. Sadly, Dr. Femi has passed away, and but I even was speaking last week with the an open focus certified coach, who is really continuing his legacy, and I think she would be one to really more fully guide you in in open focus specifically, since I've definitely been so deeply inspired by it and impacted by it, but I moved away from that aspect itself and integrated it more fully into all that all that I use and all that I believe in today. JV, thank you for your questions, and do not hesitate to ask questions, and don't hesitate to reach out. You know, I do respect the Insight Timer policy here, and I offer a lot of free things overall, and I am here to pass along. You know, these things that are diamonds in the rough sometimes. You know, diamond approach. Well, yeah, there could be kind of diamonds in the rough, and um, you know, it's just I've always felt like it's one of the greatest gifts to be connected with something that helps 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 you, and that I wouldn't have discovered without a recommendation from someone else. And so these are just touch points. And there are going to be, actually, I don't know if they're up yet, but there's going to be 2 more dissolving pain in nature's flow sessions. Since the next time, I think we're going to talk about time, more directly talk about time, how our perception of time can shift our perception of pain. And again, I'm just practicing right here with you, and yeah, it helps me to be able to have others I can practice this with. And so I see some people back. Andrew, it's so good to see you back. And see some new people as well too. And feel free at any time to say hi. And I think I have to wait for the shifts to change. But Matt is here. I thought I saw you. All right. And good to see you back, Martha and JB. And thank you for your. Oh, I've said it already. I don't have to keep repeating myself. I'll go rest now. All right. Take care, and maybe I'll see you Monday or be in touch.